No, this video is not clickbait. A music game did in fact save my life in more ways than one, but I'm not going to get into that quite yet. First, we've got to talk about this wonderful game and how it has shocked the VR industry. So let's get right into it. My name is Gentleman Jex, and if you don't know, I have been a YouTuber slash Twitch streamer for almost over a year now. It's been a crazy journey. I mean, 500 subs is a lot. I mean, that's a lot of classrooms. That's enough to fill up a jet airplane. So I really thank you all for subscribing and everything like that. But, you know, back to the main topic. The game here of choice is Beat Saber, in fact. That is the music game that I became obsessed with. For those of you who are unenlightened, Beat Saber is a simple video game. It has you, the player, swing laser swords at cubes to the beat of music. Now, what separates this game from others such as Guitar Hero or Osu, while those are great games and great music games that I've spent a lot of time in, are two main factors. One is immersion, and two is physical effort. And if that wasn't obvious enough, you know, you could just look at the clips I'm showing you guys. I'm moving at a very, very fast pace, and obviously that requires a lot of physical endurance, which is eventually going to be leading up to the main points of this video. That sounds weird because it sounds like I'm marketing for, you know, like a gym or whatever, but just hear me out. The physical aspect of this game, along with its immersion, is incredibly, incredibly important. Going back to Osu and Guitar Hero, every single game has its own unique experience tied to it, and due to the fact that, you know, you are in VR and you lose yourself in Beat Saber, and the fact that you exert so much physical energy separates it out from other music games. I mean, music games can be compared to fighting games, but imagine how different Mortal Kombat would be if you could play it in VR and your punches would translate into punches in the game. The point here I make is I'm trying to enlighten those who might have not have used VR or are a bit skeptical of it or just haven't truly experienced VR or Beat Saber in and of itself and might think like, oh yeah, it's a video game, you know, there's not a lot of effort, physical effort being put in here. There's not a lot of immersion. It's just like any other video game. No, it is not. That is the point I want to make here, is that Beat Saber is different. And I love video games. I love tons of different video games. If you watch my Twitch channel, you will know that I play a huge variety of video games. But in a way, Beat Saber is a completely different category of game and should be almost treated as such, especially when it comes to things like mental and physical health. I think I've made my point here, but leading into further topics, what makes this game so addicting is the fact that it has mod support, or at least maybe not official mod support, but it has a lot of them. Pretty much any song you want that exists in the real world has been mapped by someone in the game, and you can probably find it, download it, and play it. Keeping that in mind, Beat Saber creates an almost endless replayability. It becomes very easy to get yourself drawn in, especially if you're someone who craves increasing in skill in something. You know, it's like playing a musical instrument, and you practice over and over again. Now, sometimes playing a musical instrument isn't too fun, but Beat Saber is super fun. You know, like, I'm addicted to Beat Saber like I get addicted to fighting games. It's like playing a musical instrument. You can just feel yourself get better with time, and that leads to more and more advanced experiences, because if you can only play Mary Had a Little Lamb on the piano, it's very different than being able to play Moonlight Sonatina. I think I pronounced that wrong. My sister's gonna kill me or something. I don't know. But the point I make is, once you get to a really advanced level in Beat Saber, the game almost transforms. It becomes almost a different entity. Once you reach a high enough level of skill, I would estimate about Expert and Expert Plus, the game, rather than being a simple party game, more or less becomes a place where you can exhibit a state of flow. Now, if you don't know, a state of flow in psychology is essentially, I mean, you can look more into it, but it's essentially where you as a person enter a state of complete, utter focus. Nothing else matters but what you're doing. And the more immersive the experience is, the easier it is to get into it. And it also is easier to get into these things if they're fun, but they're also difficult. Now, many of you listening at home obviously have entered a state of flow before, whether it's been in music, video games, sports, you name it. But this state of flow and the playground that Beat Saber creates almost allows you to enter that state on demand. And it's with that point that I make that I lead into the more sensitive topics of this video. Now, I want to give you guys a bit of a heads up. I'm going to be going into a little bit of my own mental health story, more or less, and I know that some people can find that triggering, and so if that is the case, then, you know, feel free to go away from the video or do whatever you need to take care of yourself. Otherwise, let's keep going. Now, Beat Saber was the first video game I got for VR. I remember the day that my buddy Shelton and we were waiting eagerly for my HTC Vive to come, and I was the first one of my friends to get a VR headset. And I remember right away we bought and downloaded Beat Saber, and I remember the delivery person coming to the door and us, you know, yelping and whooping about, you know, excited to, you know, get VR and actually do it, right? It was really, really exciting. And I've always been into VR. I mean, I remember my first time wearing a headset when I was 13 years old. I found it at this convention, and I got to try it for like a minute, and the resolution was like 480 per eye, and there was motion sickness and stuff, but it was freaking awesome. I'll tell you that much. Now, when VR did come into my life, I was dealing with, you know, some difficult stuff, you know, trying to, you know, I was getting out of high school or I was actually out of it and going to college, you know, I believe it was my first semester. I was a scrawny kid. I was not confident at all, certainly not confident to run a Twitch channel or a YouTube channel or talk to girls or do anything of that sort of nature. And I remember when I booted up Beat Saber, it wasn't my first time playing it because I played it at, like, you know, somewhere other places, but like I remember I would spend hours and hours and hours and hours on that game. I would invite my friends over and we would take turns just trying to beat levels and bring our skill up, and it was a blast. But when I was alone, I spent hours and hours and hours just so ingrained into the game. You just couldn't pull it off me. Now, given everything that was going on in my life, it was a place I could escape into. And while that might be considered unhealthy, and it is unhealthy to simply sink into video games and binge play them so much, this had a different avenue for me. In fact, it introduced me to other things in my life that would drastically improve my life. It wouldn't improve my relationships with people. It wouldn't improve how I could talk to girls. It wouldn't improve friendships, or it wouldn't improve, you know, let's say I broke up with someone or I had a falling out with a friend. It wouldn't improve that, but it gave me an avenue for a lot of different things. Now, this avenue that I'm referring to would improve the things I mentioned before, such as how to be confident, or how to, you know, fix relationships, or make new friends, or be a better professional, or something along those lines. And it was simply that Beat Saber introduced me to working out. Now, for a long time, I had always been the scrawny nerd that had arrogantly subsided working out to the idea that it's really only for people who are big and tough and jockey, or are stupid even, and that was incredibly arrogant to me at the time. But working out, even through Beat Saber, which was a great cardio activity and still is a great cardio activity I use, allowed me to relieve a lot of stress and take out a lot of pent out emotions that were built up inside of me, so that way, you know, I could bring them out in a safe environment, in a healthy environment. Now, while I don't really show this side of me pretty much ever on this YouTube channel and on my internet presence, because, you know, that would be a bad thing, I have quite a temper. Actually, it might surprise people, but I do have a temper that can be ignited very, very quickly. And unfortunately, I wasn't always the best at keeping it in. I would make stupid decisions that were simply based off of heat of the moment choices and not necessarily accounting for future consequences. So how Beat Saber would play into this is, let's say I had a terrible day. Let's say I had a girl reject me, or I had a test that I did not do well on, or it was just, for some reason or another, it was a terrible day, and I was just pissed, right? What I would do is I would take a deep breath, and I would just say, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go all out in Beat Saber. We're gonna play some really hard songs. We're gonna go all out. We're gonna be sweating. We're gonna be pumping, you know, and then we'll make our decision on what to do later when we're done. Now, without revealing the details and natures of said situations, because I certainly don't want people to associate themselves with this, I want to keep things very confidential. I know that if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't exerted my physical energy through a video game, I might have made a heat of the moment decision that would have cost me relationships, friendships, anything, you name it. And that would compound into further consequences later in my life that would really have hurt me. And unfortunately, some of those heat of the moment decisions that I could have made could have led to me getting seriously hurt, and they would not have been good, to put it lightly. Now, of course, Beat Saber wasn't the only thing that I had. I had wonderful parents and siblings and friends who all would help me through my trials in life, and I'm very, very grateful for that, and I really do appreciate that, and I hope that doesn't go unnoticed, and I hope that if any of you guys, especially those who are familiar with some of these trials and things, know that I'm very, very grateful for you. But I'm also very grateful for this simple video game that, even on surface, has, you know, it might seem like just something you would do for fun, but I used it seriously as a mental health coping mechanism. And because of the fact that it was so physical, it would drain the energy out of my body. It would, just like working out properly does, and it felt euphoric. And this euphoria I felt helped change my life. It got me really into working out, like really into working out. And this was a scrawny nerd, like I mentioned earlier, who thought that was so stupid, and that people who chug these protein drinks and crap, like, I was like, oh, man, you know, look at them. But like, holy crap, it made my life so much better. It made me so much more confident, and I feel so much better in my own skin because I really started to commit to working out, not just doing Beat Saber, you know, going through regular workout routine. And of course, Beat Saber is super fun, so why don't we do that? But yeah, that in short is pretty much how it did help change my life. In short, I'd just like to pay homage to Beat Saber and how much it has changed my life and made things awesome for me. I mean, it was the game that allowed me to meet all you awesome chaps, and I really do appreciate that. And I know this video is like almost completely unscripted, but I figured I would stylize it like that. Just me speaking my thoughts, because dealing with a topic of this nature is sensitive enough where I think that's what it warrants. So, either way, I really appreciate you listening in. Thank you guys for the 500 subs. I'm looking forward to the big 60, 00, whatever. And you know what? I'll catch you guys on the flip side. I've been Gentleman Jex, and I'm not going to tell you to subscribe because you will if you want to. And I really appreciate everyone here. Thank you.